In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a new character and set it up for lip syncing in Adobe Animate. One thing about the lip syncing in Adobe Animate is it's got this auto lip sync feature that we're going to use. I don't really call it auto or automatic. It is a good way to have Adobe Animate use your character that you create and the mouse shapes that you create and synchronize that to some audio that you can import. However, it's not the end-all be-all for that. You will need to do some modifications and adjustments, and the reason why I don't call it automatic is it doesn't create the face shapes for you. You have to do that. You have to create the lip shapes and then set it up for this automatic feature to work. But it does a pretty good job, and it allows you to do some modifications. So the first thing I'm going to present is that you've got to start with a character design. You have to design your character and you've got to create these face shapes. So we're going to start with designing a character, very basic character, right? And then the next step we're going to do is we're going to create a new graphic symbol for the mouth shapes. So we have to have a graphic symbol with what I do is I create a lower jaw and all the mouth shapes that we're going to need for what are called visemes. And a viseme are the shapes that the mouth makes as sounds are produced. We don't animate lip sync to every single letter of every single word. What we end up doing is making shapes for the mouth that are based on that. Usually my method is to get an expression first, have the character create an emotion, do an emotion before you actually do the lip sync. But we can use this auto lip sync feature in Adobe Animate to kind of give us a starting point. And then we can create sort of a motion as we go along. And then we don't have to necessarily worry about the mouth shapes that are created and syncing the audio. Once we draw all those mouth shapes in the new symbol, we're going to place the mouth shape symbol on the main timeline. So we're going to start with the character design, right? And I'm going to just go ahead and hide my presentation. It's a little bit helpful, especially in this process, to kind of know each step of the way. So the very first thing that I did is I'm going to create a very basic character design. I'm not really basing it on any specific character. Usually what I would end up doing is drawing something out and kind of basing it on that character. But I'm going to kind of just walk through this. And actually, I don't want an outline. So I'm going to create a basic character head. And it's probably not going to be the way the character is going to look in the very end. I am going to modify this character. I'm going to stick it over here just so it's not right dead in the center, but I can move it around once I make it a symbol because all these things are going to be symbols at the end of the day. So I'm just going to use a couple tools to kind of modify the shape of this character. I'm actually going to grab these and I'm going to move them out a little bit. And right now, like I said, I just want to create a basic shape for my character and sort of basic features. And I'm going to move this up a little bit. Move this up a little bit. Kind of make a basic character head shape. And again, I can, if I don't like the design at some point in time, I can go back through and change it, right? But at this point in time, I'm going to start with this basic shape. And then I'm going to bring that in a little bit. And I try to make it as equal as possible and just sort of come up with this basic shape, right? And I can do, at this point in time, I can do whatever I need to, but I'm going to create all these in layers. So this is going to be my face, background face shape. And then I'm going to be adding, at some point in time, I'll add eyes and ears and a nose. I mean, I can create little shapes for each part. And this will be a nose, and you'll notice that I tend to use a lot of ovals when I'm designing things. I just find that it's a little bit easier to kind of work with, to kind of create these ovals and get little oval shapes. And I'm gonna create a little spot for the nose. And I like to work in, make sure that I'm following along. Okay, there we go. Make sure that that's in the right layer, right? And I'm gonna create a little spot here. Right, and I'm right now I'm just kind of creating a basic shape. I'm going to do this for the mouth, but I don't need to worry about all the eyes and the eyebrows and all that yet. I'm just going to kind of get the mouth going. So I'm going to make it give rather some pinkish look to the mouth. Well, and actually, I think that's a little too pink. Go with that. And then I don't want... Okay, so I'm basically creating a shape for the mouth, and I'm going to modify it over, over time. And I can add whatever details I want to this. But at this point, when I have this sort of I have the kind of basic idea, rough idea what I want with my character's face, I'm going to just convert the mouth to a symbol. And actually, I'm going to put that on its own layer. And that's mouth. And then I'm going to paste that in place. Right? And then zoom into that a little bit. Right? So I want to convert this to a symbol. I don't want to make it a tween yet, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not making it a tween. I'm just converting it right to a symbol. That way I'm not creating a tween and then using that to convert it to a symbol. But I'm going to call this mouth shapes. And then I'm going to make sure that's a graphic symbol. Make sure that this is a graphic symbol. So I'm going to click OK. And that's going to put it in the library, but I can actually double click it here and then kind of work with this mouth shape. So the first thing I want to kind of bring up is that there's only really 4 basic mouth shapes, and then every other mouth shape is kind of based from that. Adobe Animate uses these 12 basic mouth shapes. And by the way, we started with a character design. We created a new graphic symbol for the mouth shapes. And now we're going to add the mouth shapes for the characters in that new symbol. So that's kind of the stage we're at right now. So what I'm going to end up doing, because Adobe Animate uses 12 basic mouth shapes, and let me show you what they look like here. These are sort of the rough shapes that it sort of looks like, right? So we're going to make a neutral, and we're going to go through and make all these basic shapes. But there's really only 4 basic shapes that we're going to be working with. There's kind of based on the neutral, based on the open sound. And it really, after that, there's another kind of oval one that we'll kind of work with. But there's only 4 really basic shapes, and then we kind of modify the teeth and then where the tongue is positioned and sort of where the lips move. So we're going to create these 12 positions. We're basing it on these shapes, right? So that's what we're going to do from here. Right. So a couple cool things that we can do when we're setting up these shapes is I could start with one, and I could start with a basic shape, and then I can modify it from there. So I'm going to call this layer mouth, right? And I'm actually already going to make one for the teeth, and I can make one for the tongue, right? And I also like to make one for the chin or the jaw, the lower chin or the jaw, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that. Because as the character's talking, I don't want just the mouth moving and the face isn't moving. I want to actually create part of the shape for the chin in there. All right, so these are the first basic ones that I'm going to work with, and then I'm going to do some masking when I create the teeth and all that. So here's the mouth, and I'm going to create sort of this neutral position, right? The very basic neutral mouth shape. Right. And you can create, like sometimes what I end up doing is I, create other little points along my kind of the lip or this isn't going to be the lips necessarily, but it's going to be roughly the inside of the mouth when I'm kind of done. So I can kind of create the lip shape, but I'm really creating the inside, what's going to be inside the mouth at this point in time, and then I'm going to change that up a little bit. So the color I chose might end up changing throughout this process. But so I modify the shape of this, and if you want, I could take these out because I really don't need all these points. I just really need 4 because I just need them to kind of give me a basic shape of the mouth. So I'm going to create sort of like this neutral closed position of the mouth, right? And I'm just going to do it like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to option drag that over so I duplicate it. And since I'm going to have 12, I might as well kind of add a tongue in certain of the positions. So I could just go to frame 12 and kind of add all of them. But I'm going to option drag the ones that I kind of want over. So I'm going to create the second position here. Another cool thing that you can do is on each one of these, because I know I want to label these at some point in time so I can kind of get back and see which these are. So when you select that frame, when you're over on the properties panel and see the frame is highlighted in the properties, you can type in a label for that frame. So I'm going to call this rest or neutral or normal. So I like to call it rest. That's my rest position for the mouth, right? That's what I'm going to kind of base it on. And then this one is going to be a little wider open. So I'm going to create that position here. And just so you see that we're going to create this position, right? So I'm just really looking at the overall rough shape of the mouth, right? So I can, kind of get this. You can also use a variety of tools. I can come here and kind of drag it up if I want to bring it up from both sides. And then I can add different points along here because I want to give it a little more definition. And one thing about the pen tool, I'm going to press plus. So I can click there and click there and click there. And then I'm going to bring these two out. I like to work in groups for this. And then I'll bring this one and this one over. And I can reposition however, I want these to look, right? So I'm going to bring this one in just a little bit. So I want to kind of create a little sides for the mouth, right? I'm going to bring this over down a little bit. Feel like it needs to be about there, right? And I'm going to pop back over. So this is the shape that I'm trying to create, and I can bring that down a little bit more, and then I can bring these out, right? And if I feel like these aren't really giving me what I want, I can move those around. Oh. Right? So that'll be kind of that position. I want to bring these out a little bit more. I don't need to make it exact, but something that represents, that position. And now since I've got some teeth in here, I'm going to draw some teeth. And I don't need these on the first frame. They're not going to be there. Notice that the lips in this case are closed. So I'm going to insert a new frame there. Insert a new keyframe. Right? And I'm going to draw some teeth. And here's my trick to drawing teeth. I'm going to lock these other layers. Right? Again, I start with an oval. Quite often that's sort of one thing that I'm working with, and I want to make sure that I don't like using outlines. It's not my way of creating things, but I'm going to start with a little bit of an oval, right? And I'm going to take out sort of this bottom. So I'm going to create the bottom teeth first, right? And then I'm going to take all these top ones, and I'm going to bring them down a little bit, right? Bring this one down a little bit, right? So they got to look somewhat rounded, a little bit rounded, but I don't need them to look, like an oval. So I'm just bringing these points down a little bit to make sure that I kind of get a little bit of roundness to the teeth, right? And if I want, I can drag this out because I feel like that's, kind of a little bit, needs to kind of go to the sides of the mouth. Right, and I'm basing this on where I'd want those, sort of that teeth position. Grab them all, bring them down. Right, so I'm, kind of getting this idea down here at the bottom of the lip. Right, and then I'm going to take that. Right, and then I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it in, and I'm going to flip it around. So all I'm going to do is rotate it by 180 degrees. Right, and then I've got my top teeth. Right. And so again, I'm doing that right up there. So I'm just taking the top ones and going about right there. Right. And there I've got my teeth, but I'm going to do a neat little thing here where I take the mouth layer and I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to duplicate that mouth layer and I'm going to move it above the teeth. And I'm going to call this teeth mask. And after I do that, so this is kind of the tricky part, and I'm actually going to take out, I don't need the label right there. But I'm going to unlock it. So, and I don't need it on this one. So I'm going to delete, because all I need on the rest is right now just the mouth shape. I don't need any teeth in there. So they're just empty frames. And I don't need the tongue in there. So they're just empty frames. And I can, kind of insert a frame here too. But because I'm not going to, the tongue is not present in this position. right? So I just need the teeth, and I created what's called the teeth mask. It's just a duplicate of the mouth, and I'm going to use this as a mask. So I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to double click on that so you can see the layer properties. And there's where it says type, I'm going to choose mask and click OK. And when I do that, it's creating a mask layer, but I'm going to drag the teeth kind of underneath it. And so it kind of pops underneath there. And what that's going to do is it's going to mask it out, right? If I lock these, you're going to see, so once they're locked, you can see that the teeth, kind of the mouth shape is masking out the teeth. And so I'm just duplicating the mouth shape. If the mouth shape and the mask shape are the same, then they're going to be masked behind. But these have to be locked. If you unlock them, it's going to kind of show back up again, right? So once they're locked, you can do that. And I just unlock them when I need to kind of modify them. So I've kind of got this shape going. It's not perfect. I can modify it more. But if I modify that more, just so you realize, if I go through here and let's say I move these up a little bit, I want to get it a little bit more rounded maybe, and then move this around. Notice that the kind of the sides of the teeth here are starting to show up a little bit. Then what I need to do is I need to go back to that mouth shape. And all I have to do is copy it. Once I get it selected, I just copy. And then I unlock the mask. I'm going to delete what's in that layer first. And then I'm going to paste in, edit and paste in place the mouth shape from down here. Right? And then if I lock those, then the teeth are showing up where they should. So anytime I make modifications, like I don't really like exactly how I've modified the shape of this mouth right here, but any changes I make here, right? I'm going to get a little closer to this so we can kind of see, right? Because I think that this is way out there, right? And I think that this needs to, I'm going to bring these in a little bit. Just grab Option and kind of bring that out, select this and bring that out just so there's like, you see the corners of the mouth, right? And bring this out a little bit. Okay, it's locking. There we go. Maybe right there would be pretty good, right? But you can see the corners of the teeth again. So again, anytime I make modifications, I copy, I go to this frame right here, I unlock it. That's my mask. I'm just going to delete whatever there because what if I leave it, it's going to try to mask out whatever is there. I'm kind of adding to that. And then I edit and paste in place. And then when I lock that back, I lock that layer back, I've got a good mask, right? It's going all the way around. Okay. So that's how I do that. So then I'm going to go to the next position, which is this. It's based on the neutral position. So I'm going to Option drag over the neutral position to this D. Oh, and I'm going to label my frame. This is AH. That's the ah sound, right? I'm going to Option drag that over, and I'm going to call that is the D sound, right? And then I'm going to modify that shape. And what I want from that is I'm going to show the teeth. So I'm going to bring the teeth layer in. I'm going to bring the lips down, but they're going to kind of open up a little bit, right? So I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Bring that up a little bit, right? And I'm going to I can round this out a little bit more. Round this out a little bit more. Round this out, right? And then I'm going to bring the teeth over and I'm going to just insert a frame right there, or sorry, insert a blank keyframe. And then what I'm going to end up doing is using that to duplicate the mouth when I have the shape right. So you'll notice that the teeth are not in the right position. So I just Option drag them over. I just need to move them, right? So I'm going to select them. It's locked. So I select it, and I'm just going to select that one, deselect it and select that. I'm going to bring it up, right? And if they're not lining up correctly, then we can make them longer. So once it's an individual, frame, look at that. So these show they're kind of connected, but that's okay. I'm creating a little bit different of a design, right? And then I'm going to copy out whatever in my mouth shape is. And then again, edit, unlock, edit, paste in place, right? And then when I lock those two again, then I have the teeth that are in that position, right? So I'm going to keep going. The next position is this EE, which is kind of based on the same one. So I'm going to option drag that over. There are teeth there. So I'm going to option drag over the teeth, and I'm just going to insert a blank keyframe for the teeth mask, right? The teeth positions are pretty much the same here, just the lip positions are a little different, right? So I am going to hide the teeth really quick, and then let me go over here. I'm going to close my align panel. Don't need that right now. And then I'm going to bring this up a little bit, right? So it's a little bit up. And then what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add a couple little points along here. Just going to choose this tool, go over here, and then switch back, make this, get a little closer to this here so I can kind of get a better shape, right? So I'm going to kind of do a little bit of this, but I'm using my own little design on it. I'm going to bring this over a little bit, right? Get a little bit of a different look on the lips on this one. And then I'm going to straighten this out a little bit. I probably have that on the previous one too, where it's not so straight, but I can always go back and fix these later. That's kind of the nice thing about this, right? So I'm going to give it sort of this little bit of a shape, and I can round this out if I want to a little bit more, right? But, and again, I'm going to add the teeth to it, right? So I had that hidden, so I'm going to unhide them, right? And select that layer with the mouth, copy it, go to the mask, edit. Oh, I locked it again because you have to lock it to kind of have the mask displayed, but you have to unlock it to paste in place, right? And then you lock it back again to show the mask, right? And then I have that other position, right? So that's that one. That's that EE. So I'm going to switch the label to EE, right? And I'm going to look at the next position. There's an F, right? Option drag that one over. I'm going to label it so I know which one it is, right? And I'm going to look at kind of this shape. I'm bringing the lower lip in, and the upper lip I'm kind of bringing up. So I'm going to do that. Select that one, move it up a bit. Sometimes I like just using the arrow keys to kind of reposition things. And I'm going to bring these up too, and then I kind of move them sort of as groups. And then this one, I'm going to bring in this lower portion, but then I'm going to add a couple of, and right now I'm just pressing the plus key to go to, if you look at the, bring it up. So I'm using this tool, the add anchor point tool, which is, you either press the plus key or the equal key. They're the same kind of key there, but I'm not holding down shift, right? So I just press the plus, and then I have that tool. Right, so I'm going to add a point along the perimeter of the mouth. All right, don't want to move the whole thing. I just want to grab that one spot. Right, and I want to actually bring these down. So I'm going to bring that one here. I'm going to bring that one here, but round that out a little bit. I didn't get it quite equal, and I'm going to pull this in so it's like making that F, F sound. So I'm going to then also bring the teeth in. Option drag that over. I'm going to unlock it, but I really want the upper teeth to go over that lip. So I'm going to do something kind of fancy with this. So I'm going to take the lower one and get rid of it, right? And I'm going to bring this down. Actually, I'm going to bring the lower lip up, right? So it's like that F, right? Bring this over here, kind of change my mouth position there. But I'm going to, when I create the mask, this is going to be kind of an interesting one. So when you create the mask for this, if I, copy that out, and then I put it in this layer, so I'm just going to insert a blank keyframe, and then I'm going to edit, unlock, edit, paste in place. And then if I apply the mask, right, the teeth should be going over the lip, right? So what I'm going to end up doing, I'm just going to do this where I take this, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, right? And I'm just going to add a point. I can use the pen tool and I can, put a point there and then switch. If you're using the pen tool to do that, by the way, if you just leave on the pen tool and you start clicking multiple points, it tries to draw a line between them. So I sometimes use that and switch back to the subselection tool and then go back to the pen tool, and it'll line it up to here, to where other things sort of cross. So it's kind of snapping it to it, right? And then I'm gonna just press the minus key, and the minus key will give me the pen tool, but specifically removing points. So I could do that. And then I'm gonna go back to the pen tool, hold down Command, and I can select each point, and then I'm gonna hold down Option, and I can move these handles separate from one another, right? So you'll see that it kind of creates this, it looks like the teeth are actually cutting it off, but it's not, right? So if I do that, I'm going to have to select that layer again and copy it. And then I'm going to go to my mask, unlock it. I'm going to delete whatever's there and then edit and paste in place, right? And then when I lock it, I'm going to have a mask. It may or may not be perfect depending on how you do it, but that's going to give you, where it looks like the teeth are kind of going over that bottom lip, F, right? And then I'm going to create the L. So I'm moving right along to create all these. So I created the F. The L is somewhat based on, the same of these others. So I'm actually going to choose D because I think it's closer, and then Option, drag that over. And then I'll modify that. But this one has teeth, and it brings in the tongue for the first time. So I'm going to work on the shape of that mouth here. All right. And I'm going to bring this way down. And I'm going to bring this up. Right. So I've got that shape. Again, you can use whatever variety of tools to make these shapes. You can even paint them in if you really want. I just choose this method because I feel like it's kind of quick to get different shapes, right? I've got it kind of rounded, but I'm going to round out the corners of the mouth just a little bit more on the lower side, right? On the upper side, I'm going to add a couple points up here. About right there. I'm trying to level them out a little bit. You can get as precise as you want to about it. Just try to be, fairly quick to kind of set up my character. Right, I'm going to bring that in just a little bit and bring that in just a little bit, right? So that's kind of roughly the shape that I want to get for this sound. But now what I need to bring, I'll start with the teeth. I'll bring the teeth and bring those in. But I can't drag it from that one because I just have an upper one in that one. So I'm going to bring it from this one. Option, drag it over, and then I've duplicated it, right? And they're a little bit further apart. So I'm going to grab that one. Oh, I have it locked because it's part of that mask layer. And I'm just going to select one of them and move it down some, move this one, move it up some, right? And then I've got a tongue in there, so I'm going to bring that in eventually, but I also want to copy that, the mouth shape and insert a blank keyframe there. Edit and paste in place. Unlock it. Edit, paste in place. Right. And then if I lock it back, then I have, a mask for the teeth for that shape. Again, I'm just kind of doing a rough shape, and I can go in and kind of fill them in later if I want to, but you're going to see how that works. And here's the first time I need the tongue. So I'm going to put a blank keyframe there. So these are just empty. I don't need keyframes on any of those because they're just empty. The same thing with the chin. At some point in time, I'll probably have the same positions for the chin. So I may or may not. So since there's nothing drawn in that, I don't want anything showing up. I just don't fill them in. So the first time I need it, I just enter a new keyframe, right? And then again, I'm going to use my oval tool, and I'm just going to draw in a little bit of a tongue, and I'm going to make it a little bit of a different color. I don't want it super red, but something that's a little bit different color. Let's do that, see what that looks like. That's probably about the same color. So I'll choose a different one. I don't want it to be too red. Let's Let's make it purple, just to kind of change it up a little bit. I still don't like that. I'm going to make, let's see, how about, let's go there. There we go. That'll kind of look okay. So just kind of draw it out, and I'm going to position it where I feel like it needs to be. So it's going to kind of do this thing where, let me zoom into it a little bit so it doesn't snap like that. And then I'm going to use this to, I'm going to get these points to line up to where I kind of want the tongue shape to be. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to bring this one out a little bit. I'm going to bring this one out a little bit. Right? And then get these going. So I'm just kind of roughing out the shape. And then I can get these down here because it's going to be, you know, behind the teeth. Right? So I'm just kind of getting it set up. And actually I can probably delete those and then bring that out a little bit. There, now I got it kind of lined up. And I noticed that I have a little gap up here, so I could kind of fix the teeth if I wanted to. I could go up here and grab that. I could just bring these up if I wanted. Right, so that I don't see that little gap in the where the teeth were. Right, so now it's gone. All right, and I can make this better if I really wanted to. I can go back through and change these points, or I could even pull this down so that it looks like it's coming from behind the teeth sort of thing, right? Drag it out a little bit, drag this out a little bit. So again, I could spend more time on it, but I can also do that later, right? So now I'm getting this L sound, right? So this is L, right? And now I'm going to go through and sort of set the rest of them up really quickly. And I'm just going to not really describe it. I'm just going to zoom through it, and so you can kind of get the rest of them. So. Once you have those all set up, you can spend more time perfecting them. Like I said, I'm kind of just doing sort of the outline for the mouth, and later I would put in sort of the interior, right? Because this is kind of lips, but I'm kind of pretending like it's the inside of the mouth, but I'm also kind of looking at it from the outside, kind of the major shape. So I could then duplicate that layer if I wanted to, and then set it up where, I kind of reduce the size or whatever. So I could just, again, duplicate that entire layer, right? It actually would be like that. That would be, say would be the lips and this would be the mouth, right? So if I wanted to, I could kind of set that up on maybe a couple of them. So that's mouth, and these are going to be the lips, right? Because it's going to be the outside, and then I can go on the inside, sort of on each one, and then use the free transform tool to kind of bring that in and then change its color, if I wanted to. And then I would end up changing kind of the shape of that to match this. So this one would kind of, come down a bit, and, I kind of think about it just sort of geometric shapes to a certain degree, right? And then can actually take that out, take this out, take this out, take this out, right? And then I'm kind of getting sort of more of this shape, bring it up a little bit, right? So I'm getting kind of more of that shape, and then I can go through and do that for each one, right? Then what I would have to do for, sort of these that I have this for is, I would have to actually, maybe on this one I'd have to expand the lips a little bit, right? So I'd have to take that and, that one. And then if I hold down shift and I drag it out, then I'm kind of getting a shape for the lips. And then I go to this one and make it sort of the same color as the previous one, right? So then I'm getting sort of lips, and I wouldn't want to kind of keep it that way, but because just having it the same look, I'd probably want to bring this in a little bit, bring this one in a little bit, kind of. And then if I do that, I'm going to have to sort of option drag that back up to the teeth mask. Oops, sorry, not that one. I would have to do the inner mouth, make sure that that's the same as the mask, and then get rid of the label there because I don't need that there. So, but these are all labeled, for each shape, but you're going to see that it's going to look a little funky now that I've added some and didn't add others. But so once you have those all set up, usually what I end up doing is I take the chin and I put that in there. So I'm going to go back to the same scene. I'm going to go out a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of grab sort of the lower portion, and I can actually just sort of select the whole thing and copy it, and then double click the symbol, go into the symbol, and paste that in place. I'm going to unlock this and edit and paste in place. Right, so now on that one I should have, let me move it over where it's supposed to be. Make sure it kind of lines up. Cool, right. And then what I'm going to end up doing is getting rid of the points that are above, right, on this, because I just want it to be the chin. So I might just add, sort of a point there, and again, a point over here based on where I'm going to, kind of cut that off at, and then delete. So then what I would do is I'd end up going to each one of these positions. So, when the mouth is open, option drag that over, sort of drag these points and, pull them down. So when the mouth is opening, I need to kind of accommodate for that, right? So then what you're going to see is you're going to see this, chin shape changing. And then I can, again, option drag that over to every one of the, shapes that are like that. So I'm going to option drag that one over to here. I'm going to option drag that one over to there. Option drag that one. And actually I just need, because it's going to be, roughly the same shape. Now I can change it up a little bit more. I can insert a keyframe there, and then I can change that chin shape based on, what it's going to be. And actually what I need to do is make sure that these points are kind of going above where the mouth is, because, I want it to be like that, right? So I can do that to each one of these shapes, and then sort of look at the ones that are more of the rest position and option drag that one over, right? And again, I would probably want to go to each one of these and modify the chin just a little bit for each one, so it looks like the lower portion of the face is moving. That's kind of the idea here, is that you're kind of accommodating for each one of those different positions. But I want to just kind of get this in here, so, right? So then I get the chin moving a little bit, right? So that's kind of me setting up the character roughly. I would end up doing a lot more work, but then I'm going to go back to the scene. If I add, however many frames for the audio or whatever, let's say I just go to, insert frame here, and then I look at that, you're going to see it moving. but it's just running through, because it's a graphic symbol, it's just running through every, single point. Oh, I'll go to that. It's just going through this whole thing. It's just sort of looping through this forever, however long it's on the timeline.